Do Filipinas make best wives? This is a question many people will ask, and many people may have different opinions. As a man who's been married to Australian women and a Filipina, I certainly feel I'm qualified to give you my very honest answer to this popular question. Looking to date a Filipina or already dating or married to a Filipina? I use my experiences around my relationship with my Filipino wife of 6 years, as well as my professional experience as a qualified relationship counsellor for over the past 10 years. Are you after resources, tips and information for a successful relationship with your Filipina and to maintain it well into the future? No problems, just take a moment to subscribe and press the bell icon to get all our future videos, and I promise you'll never miss out again. As an Australian man who's lived more than half a century and been married to Australian women during most of my life, I've seen the progression, if you like, from women in the 1980s here in Australia through the more modern or feminist women in Australia in the present day. The values of women in Australia have changed without a doubt over this time, and many have become what I can only refer to as power hungry in the relationship sense. But speaking from my own experience in being in relationships with Australian women and the relationship I've been in with my wife for the past 6 years, there are vast differences. And when you weigh them all up, without a doubt, for me, my Filipino wife comes out a long way ahead of any Australian woman I've ever been in a relationship with. And let me break it down for you why I say this. Now, I'm not here to bag out, well, at least not too much, the women in Australia I've had relationships with, but clearly they don't work out for various reasons, and of course in some cases I also need to take some of the blame. Women here have changed so much since I started dating in 1981, and through my experiences I see those relationships were being pulled apart by the woman's extreme feminist beliefs that she didn't need my permission for anything at all. In fact, the attitude in many instances was she will do what she wants and doesn't need my approval for anything. Now that's totally against what I believe, at least, what a marriage or partnership is. In a marriage, people discuss and negotiate where needed and come to an agreement both are happy with, but attitudes like this with many women in Australia really drove the relationships to breaking point, and in turn after many years drove me to look overseas for a woman who wasn't ruined by feminist ideology. For me it was either look outside Australia or stay single for the rest of my days, and needless to say I chose the latter. Now, of course, I can only talk about my current relationship with my Filipino wife and how it has been for me compared to that of my other 3 long-term relationships I had previously in my life. Simply, there is no comparison, and let me break it down for you right here. No feminist attitudes. My wife comes from a very humble Filipino family and grew up in the province area in Luzon. Western feminism was something that never caught up to her, or perhaps she just wasn't interested in what that represented. I can honestly say that in 7 years of knowing her, I've never even seen the slightest hint of anything remotely in the way of feminism. She still is very much a typical Filipina in many senses of the word, even after 6 years in this country in Australia. She's still very proud to be a Filipina and loves her country, but is extremely happy to have a new country where she will soon be a citizen. I hear some people say you should never take a Filipina to a Western country because she'll be ruined by feminism or she will lose interest in you. Well, I'm here to tell you that is far from my experience. Perhaps these guys who say these things are simply chasing after the wrong type of Filipinas. I don't know. Very soft, loving, caring, kind and considerate. Anyone who has ever been in a relationship, either dating or married with a Filipina, will know what I mean when I talk about Western women acting tough like nothing at all affects them. Many of them have become very hardened, which is a defense mechanism to say to the world, I'm as strong as any man. This is a big turn-off to many men, and me included in that. My Filipina wife has nothing to prove to anyone and certainly doesn't feel the need to put on a mask, so to speak, and pretend to the world she is stronger than me or anyone else. She remains a very soft, loving, caring, kind and considerate woman, and is very feminine rather than a feminist. A big difference right there, guys. Nothing is ever too much trouble for my Filipina when it comes to me. I remember in previous relationships those Western women would rarely offer to do anything at all for me. Now, I am a very capable man, so of course I don't mind doing things for myself, but I would often do things for those women without being asked. Things like making dinner, washing up, washing and hanging out the clothes, and at times even looking after the kids while she went to the gym or out with her girlfriends for the night. And yes, guys, I was silly enough to fall for that lie. But did I ever really get any thanks for all that? Not that I can recall. My Filipina wife always thinks of me and is always putting me first. She will offer to make the food I like. If I'm unwell, she will look after me without a thought. If she's tired, she will make sure that I am looked after first. It isn't because she thinks I can't look after myself, but because she loves to have someone to care for and takes great pride in doing things for other people. My wife is such a hard worker who is driven to add as much help as possible every day for our family here. In my 3 long-term relationships with Australian women, only the first one back in the 1980s was a hard worker, and I'll give her credit for that. But the other 2 would avoid work like the plague. They may have done some sort of work from time to time, but always tried to avoid doing any type of job that required full-time hours. And of course, all the pressure financially was left up to me, but we won't go there right now. My Filipina wife was a very hard worker in the Philippines, as many Filipinas are. They need to work to survive, and they get used to working long hours. My wife would work in security and would do 12-hour days, 7 days a week, with one 24-hour shift every 2 weeks. And her pay was around 12,000 pesos per month, which was around 300 Australian dollars back at that time in 2014. She never complained about the hours or the money and would do what she needed to do so she could look after her daughter. When she came to Australia in 2014, she wasn't allowed to work for the first 12 months or so, and this was very hard for her as she wanted to contribute. Once her visa was updated and she had work conditions in Australia, she wasted not a second and went out and found employment as a housekeeper. A job far different to that of a security officer, but nonetheless she was excited to be earning money, and the type of money she would have only dreamt about earning in the Philippines. Ever since then she's worked and worked hard, as well as looking after me and our daughter. Again, she never complains and is proud to contribute to our savings plan every single week. She truly enjoys working because she understands the opportunities that working in a country like Australia can bring for all of us. We talk about things instead of demanding things. My wife not once has ever demanded anything from me or of me. Now, a guy who has never dated or married a good Filipina will not understand this and think, no, that's all rubbish, that I'm probably lying through my teeth, all that sort of thing. That's because these guys have accepted that Western women just are demanding, and that's how the world works according to them. Wrong. That's how many women in the West work nowadays, but not so in other parts of the world like the Philippines. The women I've been with in my country for the most part were very outspoken, opinionated and exceptionally demanding, to the point of saying if I didn't agree, they would just do it anyway. My opinion in those relationships did not matter, and if I didn't like it, they would simply bail out of the relationship. To them, the relationship wasn't valued, and it was very disposable, make no mistakes. But to my Filipino wife, not only is the relationship valuable, she makes it that I feel like it's valuable, and to have that feeling of security within that relationship with her is a feeling I've never known before, and it's the first time in my life that I've ever felt content and happy within a relationship. And boy, is that a great feeling to have. She doesn't demand the best of everything. Not once has my wife said she wants a big expensive house or the best land in town or the best and most expensive jewelry or an expensive car. Not once. She's always happy to receive whatever gift I may have given her, even if it's inexpensive. And when we bought her very first car after she got her license, she was absolutely excited, even though it only cost $1,000 and was rather old. She loved it so much as she would have if I'd bought her a brand new Toyota, and she looked after it very, very well. I had one wife in particular who was a demand and control freak, and if she didn't get the best of everything, it would turn into World War III, which we'll go into in the next point. But really, this woman was a nightmare to live with, and no matter how expensive the item, whether it be jewelry or a car, she always wanted to get something more expensive next time, and a man just can't keep up with that, especially when the woman isn't contributing financially. Thank God for Filipinas to escape that nightmare. She's not out to impress the next door neighbours, friends and family with a materialistic lifestyle. This follows on from the previous point, and my Filipino wife is only interested in what we want and what we can do together. She isn't interested in having anyone think that we have more than we really do. We don't have credit cards or a big fancy house simply because we don't need them, and we don't need the debt that would cause financial stress just to impress other people. We live a good and basic lifestyle in a rural town in Australia. Mind you, I do know of some Filipinas in the same town who think it's a bit of a competition to outdo one another, but my wife stays away from those sorts and the drama that all that brings. Simply put, my Filipino wife is not high maintenance and has no desire to be. She is still very much a Filipina and holds her values very, very dearly. She loves her new country and the opportunities it brings, but also loves the Philippines and is a proud Filipina. There is no comparison from my experiences in long-term relationships with Australian women to that of my relationship with my Filipino wife. And if anyone asks me, do Filipinas make the best wife? I will answer them 100% yes, they do. And any man who had ever had enough of the extreme feminist women in the West should certainly start his search for a good and decent Filipina rather than going full MGTOW and forgetting women for a serious relationship altogether. If you're a man who's looking to find the right Filipina for you and you're not sure where to start, then click on my affiliate link in the pinned comment to the Philippines' #1 online dating site, where you can create an account for free and view thousands of profiles of beautiful Filipinas right now. Many men in our YouTube community have found the love of their life on this site, and you can too. You really have nothing to lose. And if you're looking for tips and information to strengthening your relationship with a Filipina, then check out my end screen card appearing now. Feel free to like and share the video, subscribe and press the bell icon for more videos. Thanks for watching. I appreciate your support. Take care and bye for now.